Welcome to the Starfish Diaries. I am your host, Liz McKean, and you might have found me from another podcast or from yoga or through coaching or maybe a recovery event, but all that matters is that you're here now, and I am so glad that you're here. On this show, we're going to be talking about identity and self-trust and recovering from all sorts of things, including shame and burnout and squeezing ourselves into what we think good looks like. And I'm going to use a lot of metaphors because that's how I make sense of the world. And I'm hoping that helps you too. I'm really just here to remind you and honestly remind us that there is no such thing as doing life wrong and that you do get to make your life into a place that you want to be. And we're going to figure it out together. So let's go. Hello, welcome back. Happy day, whatever day it is that you are listening to this. I'm excited to have a little convo with you today. And I think this might be our 21st episode or something like that, which is pretty exciting. I read somewhere that a lot of podcasts, like there's like bazillions of podcasts that are started every single day. And I mean, that's probably not a shock to anybody, but I read somewhere that like less than 0.1% or something like that actually stick it out beyond 20 episodes. And, you know, I'm sure for some people, it's just like it was always meant to be a short thing, like it's a short project or whatever. So those numbers might be skewed, those numbers that I am questioning whether I'm quoting correctly anyways, but it was like 0.1 or 0.01. It was like a very teeny tiny little percentage, but considering all the bazillions of people starting podcasts, I guess even a teeny tiny percentage is still a good group of people. Anyway, this very, very small percentage of people or, you know, groups or whatever get past a certain number of episodes. And yeah, so I feel very excited and proud to be with you beyond episode 20 with every intention to continue on. And, you know, this is a small podcast and we are a small community that you are part of as someone who's listening to this podcast. I look forward to growing this listenership to, you know, maybe some larger numbers at some point, but you are listening. And the fact that there is somebody listening is so meaningful. And some of you have reached out, which is just the most, I mean, what a gift to do. I mean, please reach out to people that you know who podcast because it means a lot. And yeah, and tell your friends, you know, send an episode to them if you think it would be meaningful. Really, like the big ask is to, you know, leave a review if you are so inclined. Like hitting that little 5-star button is a big deal. Like it's a big deal to podcasters to do that. So I would be overjoyed if you would do that on whatever platform you're listening. And, you know, if there's another podcast that you enjoy, I'm sure they would feel the same. So anyways, that is my little celebration station that we are tuning into here in this moment. And let's move on to actual episode. So we're going to take a couple deep breaths here because that's what we do. So wherever you are, maybe you give yourself a little shake. If you're somewhere in public or you're driving, maybe you do that internally. Maybe you just unclench that jaw because I know it's clenched. Mine too. Unclenching right now. All right, take a deep breath in through your nose and out with a sigh. Good stuff. We'll just do 2 more. Biggest breath in. How long can you make that exhale? Yeah, feel your shoulders start to melt. Last one. We're going to hold this one. Big breath in through the nose if you got that. Hold for a moment. Feel everything expand. Maybe a smile because you can. And then open your mouth and let it go. Good job. You know, I always cue through the nose. I used to do this in yoga classes as well, but I hope you know that if you are someone with a stuffed up nose or deviated septum or for any other reason that's not available, that's just a option. You know, you can breathe however breathing feels good for you. And Yeah, and it's always okay to skip the breaths. So, anyways, into the episode. I have been thinking a lot lately about identity. I think I might have done an episode previously. It's not like, as we've talked about, I've only done like 20, so I should be able to remember, but that's asking a lot of this 45-year-old brain. So, I want to talk about identity in hopefully a way that I haven't before, because it's been hitting me lately how different I feel when it comes to my own experience of my identity, and I suspect that this might resonate with you as well. So just to give you a little bit of a context of where I am right now in this sort of journey, I resigned from a big shot title at an organization that continues to mean a lot to me, that I continue to have some affiliation with, just in a different way than I did before. But I resigned from my job there about 6.5 months ago. And I literally, had to write a letter saying I'm resigning from this role that had the word director in it. And I worked a really long time and worked really hard to get that word, in my title. And this is not the first time that I have walked away from a job title that felt very important to me. But I think this is the first time that I was able to put words to the fact that the reason that felt hard, and especially in the time following, even knowing it was the right thing, like knowing, I knew it was the right thing for me. It felt very aligned with where I'm going. But so much of my identity has been wrapped up in a title. And that goes back very far into my background, and I want to talk about that. But just to stay in the present right now, I realized that not only was that title and that job, the work I was doing, like that role in general was important, it also felt like the thing that made me important, and not in a I'm better than anybody kind of way, but in a I don't matter maybe outside of this. And I say maybe because, as you can probably tell, I'm still kind of working this out in my head, but I wanted to do that in real time with you. And it's so interesting because I made that change because I no longer felt like it belonged to me. Like the direction that I was going and the way that my day-to-day life was progressing, and the dreams that I had then and have now were not aligned with continuing in that role. And I could not, in good integrity, in my own integrity, continue to hold that and take the steps forward that I am currently taking. And yet, even knowing that in my conscious brain, there was just this deep part of me that was like, well, when that metaphorical nameplate comes off the door no longer has a nameplate on it, so now you're nobody. And I noticed that when I would talk to people and they would ask me about work, because we just live in a culture where that's how we start small talk conversations. I'm fine with that. I would kind of stumble, and I kept referring back to that thing that I did before, that title that I had, even though I didn't have it. I needed people to know that I had it, because it was the thing, again, that made me matter. And even deeper than matter, it almost is like the thing that made me exist. And boy, does that go deep. Like, boy, does that feel like, oh, I've also seen this film before. I remember I used to be a registered nurse. And when I stopped being a nurse, I felt so, lost for a lot of reasons. That also was very mixed up in a lot of mental health and addiction stuff that was happening to me at the time. But, that was the thing that made me good, that made me matter. I don't have better words than those. And those words I feel deeply in my soul. It's like I feel like I should find more of them so that you could understand, but I'm just going to believe that you're going to hear me. And if those are not the words you would use for yourself, substitute what words would feel resonant for you. And boy, that'll make you stuck to be moving in a new direction that you're excited about. I'm moving in a direction I'm excited about, to continue to tether myself to, and I'm allowed to do that because I did this. I'm still good as long as I keep reminding myself and others that I did this. It's that tether, I mean, that tether is attached to an anvil, that's dragging me down. I got to be okay by myself. And I know that I am, again, like we've talked before about these different parts of our brain, in my conscious mind, I'm like, this is the thing, I have decided this. But under the surface, in my subconscious, and the parts of me that their main job is to keep things status quo, the story has been, the rule has been, you make sure you have a name for what you're doing that makes you good. And if that goes away, you've broken the rule and you're not okay and you're not safe and you're not good and you don't matter. And I say those things knowing they're not true, but there is a part of me that knows also that those things are true, because that's it's a brilliant thing about the way that we're made up. Like our brains love, especially our subconscious, loves rules, needs rules. Like we're constantly trying to make sense of things, even when think about the dreams that you have when you're asleep. Like your brain, maybe you went to sleep feeling really anxious about a work thing or a conversation you had with your friend or your partner or something. And then in your dream, you forgot your locker combination because something under the hood there, your brain was like, oh, I've had this feeling before. We got to figure this out. We got to work this out. All right, what can I assign this to? Last time I felt this way that I remember, that was like during a especially, prominent time in my life when I locked in the rule of like, this is what's happening when I feel this way. It was when I couldn't remember my locker combination, or I was scared I was going to forget my locker combination. So to make sense of this feeling, I'm going to remember that, not being able to get my locker open. And it's like, okay, we're not there anymore. I don't actually need to. Do you ever do that when you like wake up in the morning and you have relief because like, oh, thank goodness, I actually don't have to go to school anymore. Sometimes it actually takes a minute. I read a thing. Oh my gosh, I'm too online lately. On Instagram, somebody said something that just hit me so hard. And she was like, God, I woke up in the morning after one of those dreams. And then I was so relieved when I realized it was Saturday. And it took another full 10 seconds to remember that also I'm, decades out of school. Not actually, just it being Saturday was the first layer of relief. So that made me laugh. But the thing that's wild about these under the hood rules is that I'm so glad they're there. I'm so grateful for those rules. Like the things that it's as simple as, I touched the stove, it was hot, and now I know not to do that anymore. And there's so much value in that. But our brains make those same stories, those same rules when, I had this relationship with this person who hurt me really badly. So the next time I might meet someone and I immediately don't like them. I immediately feel unsafe around them. I don't want to be around that person. I just can't quite figure out why. And it very well might be because something about them, the cologne they're wearing, the way they do their hair, a little bit of the look, like, or maybe even the coffee shop you meet them in or something, is somehow in relation to that other person that hurt you. This new person might be perfectly nice, but your brain is like, nope, I made a rule that is going to keep us safe, that we never make that mistake again. We stay far away from this person. We run away when we see that person. And it's like, okay, but that's not that person. But my subconscious doesn't know. It's just like, nope, I made a rule. I smell the smell. There's flags happening, there's indicators, and so we run away. And like, what a gift to have your brain under the hood without you even having anything to do with it, protecting you in that way. And so much of that is created when we're young, when our brains are especially mushy. I believe in the last episode I called our brains mushy, and I'm so sorry because your brain is lovely. But that's just the word that's coming to my mind. And often it's when there's been, some kind of big event. I mean, we certainly all are pretty aware of like PTSD, of trauma. And that's all like the veteran who hears fireworks and has a panic attack or worse, because last time, when they heard those big noises, it was gunfire. That is like their subconscious so wisely protecting them. Like I learned the rule is hear this, like dose you are literally being dosed. Like your brain is like, let me just flood you with all the adrenaline, the cortisol, all those things that are going to give you the ability to fucking run or fight, whatever you need to do. And it takes a lot of work to change that story, because that subconscious story, that rule that you created without even trying, because your brain is so brilliant and takes such good care of you in that way. But it is going to hold, its job is to hold on to that with all its might, because that is the thing that in its mind, in your mind, is going to keep you safe, keep you alive. And so to reprogram that to tell a new story, usually requires some help, whether that's through a lot of therapy, through, support groups, through certainly just realizing that's what's happening. I love hypnosis for that reason, because it sort of fast tracks getting under the hood in that way. And, what's interesting is I love listening to people describe hypnosis, because I have my own description and definition based on all these different conversations that I've had and listened to, and obviously understanding the modality better and better the more I learn and do it. And, one of the things that you do if you're being hypnotized, or if I'm hypnotizing you, I'm kind of overwhelming your senses, like we're going to open and close our eyes a few times. I'm going to give you a lot of instructions. I'm going to give your conscious brain is going to have a lot of things to do. And that's going to just let down the defenses so that we can get under the hood. So that actually the part of you that's like telling that story, like, no, this means danger, this means danger, this means danger. Like the thing that is protecting that story, that hard shell that has grown around that story softens. And so we can get to that story and talk directly to the part of you that holds that story, that tells that story, that is like, this is the fucking rule and you will not change this rule because this is going to keep us alive. Like, there are shields built up around that rule because that rule is going to keep us alive. Therefore, we are going to protect that rule. It's like the part of you that's saying, I got to keep this heart beating, It's like, I'm not going to let you just go in there and change that. Like it requires a pretty big event. Whoa, I just knocked over, talk about a big event, knocked over my microphone. And we're back, folks. It requires some real intention and knowing where to look to crack through that shell or to soften that shell. That's what I prefer. I prefer the softening of the shell around the rule. There's also, a method of hypnotherapy that kind of cracks through the shell, like where there's like a boom, like a big almost like thing that kind of makes you jump, kind of makes you scares you to get in there. And I don't like that as much, but that's just my personal preference. But the idea is like you have to like know that there's something to get to and a rule that needs to change and an understanding of why it's there to begin with. So when it comes to identity, at some point in my life, and then probably reinforced over me reinforcing it. I decided that my most important thing, the thing that keeps me safe, and, I'm using this word safe, and I think we know this. We all kind of have a little bit of a therapy speak background in 2026. But, the word safe can be applied to both physical safety, emotional safety, mental safety, et cetera. And in my brain, it is a rule has been created that to be safe, you need to be good. People need to know that you're good. People need to believe that you're good. Doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter what I believe. I just need to make sure everybody else believes that I'm good. And a way that I found gives me that feedback is through a job title. So, I've worked for a lot of nonprofits. I worked in healthcare. I worked in recovery. I mean, my gosh, I think about when I stopped drinking, when I got in recovery from alcohol, and found kind of my place in how I could help others that were struggling with addiction in this area that I so uniquely could understand, having been through it. It felt like, oh my gosh, this is just checking all the boxes of making me okay and making me safe in this world, because now not only am I good and doing work that I can point to, be like, look at this good thing that I'm doing. Also, I'm good at it, so I'm rising up in the ranks, and so I can be like, look at that, I'm good at it. Other people think I'm so good, they want to give me money for it, and they want to give me a title, and holy smokes, they want me to talk about it. And it also felt like, I used to call it my lifelong apology tour for the time that I spent when I was in my absolute addiction to alcohol. And it felt like a way to, pay my penance. Not that my brain ever would allow me to think that had been complete, but it really felt like this is the thing you need. This is the safety. And so when that stopped feeling like the right place for me, the right role for me, and I found, other paths that I wanted to go down, to walk away from that without really having a very defined permission slip felt very scary. Because in the past, when I've quote unquote, let somebody down by making a big change, whether that was leaving a career or a relationship or something, I would always find some kind of permission slip, whether it was like being able to frame the story to myself and to others about why this thing I'm leaving is so bad. It's so bad. I have to go. I have no other choice. It's the brave thing to do to go. Or, and that might've been true. That was certainly true sometimes. But it was very important to me to have that. Or, when I left one job where I was raising money in one nonprofit, it felt very wrong to want to leave that, even though it was literally killing me. Like I can't remember how many times I was at the doctor getting my heart checked because I was having so many panic attacks. And that's around the time that the drinking situation got real bad, I guess. We won't try to find a real great adjective for that. Because I was just in so much pain all the time. And the way I found made that okay was I went to nursing school. I'm like, I have this new way to help, this new way to be good. And now I'm a nursing student. So now I'm not only gotten myself safe from this job that was hurting me, but also here's this other thing I'm going to do. And everybody thinks I'm good. And I'm going to be okay. And I look back at my life, and it's such a pattern of doing a thing that felt very right in the moment, like with my whole self felt right because it made me good. And then when that rush of I'm good, I'm okay wore off, and all of a sudden I was actually in the thing and living the thing, and it didn't actually match with who I actually am and what I wanted to do and the way I can feel the most free in this life. Because freedom is another thing that's incredibly important to me. And sometimes being free and being good didn't happen in the same place, in the same role. Oh my gosh, in the same relationship. And I'd have to find a permission slip that would make me so I'm still good and I can get out. And I was just hopping from thing to thing. And I'm so grateful for every single lily pad that I hopped onto, because they all led me to the next thing that I needed to be at. And I think about who I am today, and and I like who I am today, and it's because of all of those lily pads I hopped on. I'm a frog in this metaphor, apparently. This is, I'm not in charge of the metaphor machine that happens in my brain. That's another story. And anyways, so I'm finally in that work where I've realized, and again, when I'm talking about whether it's hypnosis or another modality that you are finding or any of us are finding to work on those stories, to rewrite the programming that we have just running, that unless we know it's there at all, we're just living our lives wondering, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep feeling this way? Why do I keep panicking? Why do I keep drinking? Why do I keep picking my fingers until they bleed? Why do I just feel so crappy all the time? Why can't I sleep? Why do I keep snapping at my spouse? Like all these things that we do that we're like, why? When we start to understand that there's programming happening, there's things there is a why, there is a reason. It's a great reason, actually. It's a part of you that thinks I have to do this and this is how I stay alive. But it's wrong, it's outdated. We need an update. But once we know that update is needed, that's when you can start working on it in one way or the other. And then you start softening or breaking through that shell. And I always knew, I've been in therapy a lot of my life, so I knew that being good was something that was important to me more than is of service to me to want to be good. Like, and particularly wanting external validation of, I'm good because you told me I'm good, because you think I'm good. And until then, I'm not, that is something that I've worked on healing for many years. And I am very proud of where I am with that. And yet understanding the name on the door thing is a newer area of healing. It's a newer shell that I've been working on softening to get to that story and rewriting it. And I'm so excited to do that. Like, what a gift. Because, I could live my whole life this way, and there are certainly worse stories and programming to have running, but I want to know myself well enough to know where decisions are coming from. I want to understand, when I walk away from something that isn't right for me anymore, where those feelings are coming from. Especially as someone who is prone to anxiety and panic, and in the past, substance use. And I'm not demonizing any of those things. I'm also grateful for those parts of me that when something hurts, finds a way to make it feel better. But when I can understand better where the hurt is coming from, I can do something about it. Just like when I understand where the solution is coming from, whether it's reaching for, a substance or just sitting and panicking, like I want to understand that too. Because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be big feelings. And so the better I know myself, the better I can keep myself safe in a updated programming scenario. And also, I can set sail for happiness, for joy, for fulfillment in a way that's for me. And I love that I'm a person that wants to help people. I love that I'm a person who wants to be good, because it is important to me to be a good person. I have a lot of strong values that I hold myself to. Integrity is deeply important to me. being of service is important to me. And those just are important to me. And sometimes they just get a little warped in the way that I think I have to go about it. And the reason I'm reaching for, my sign to hold up, be like, look at me, I'm good. Because I don't need that. I just am a good person. And so are you. You are a really good person. You are doing the best you can. And all the habits, the programs, the stories, the rules that your brain has made to keep you safe, that maybe sometimes have led to you feeling or thinking or doing something that feels like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? Like, it's just another piece of evidence to like how brilliant you are. And all those parts of you inside of you that are taking such good care of you. And sometimes they're misinformed, and there's ways to help reinform them. But even the fact that you're listening to this podcast would indicate to me that you're interested in doing that work, which will hopefully lead to you knowing yourself better, feeling safer within yourself, feeling safer within the world. And that benefits everybody. I've been practicing in like new spaces, public spaces, podcast spaces, new relationships, not over explaining who I am, what I do, what I've done. Because I know that is part of a story that I'm rewriting. And now I'm building evidence to show that I don't need to do that I can just be me now. That somebody can just get to know me now as I am without knowing anything else about me, my background, my what I've done, who I've been, what the sign on the door used to say. And that's enough. Because it's enough for me. And when it comes to titles, I'm really excited right now, as I've talked to you about, and which is, the whole reason that I'm doing this podcast and the world that I'm building right now. I'm excited about hypnosis and how much it can help with these specific types of things. And to get kind of meta about it, saying that out loud is evidence of such growth and such healing. The fact that I can say, when I've done this recently, when I've met someone, be like, I'm Liz, I'm a hypnotist. I know that people have stories in their head about what that means. I know that could inspire questions or even eye rolls, or just like a lean in with and excitement about it. And it's not up to me to decide that for a person before they've even processed something. It's up to me to say, this is the thing I'm excited about telling you right now. And I know who I am. I know that I'm good. And me convincing you of that in this moment is not my job. And that's a big deal. And I have so much more work to do in a lot of areas when it comes to the stories and the rules that my mind has created. And part of that has been finding, kind of like sorting through the drawers within my subconscious brain and finding some rules and some stories and some kind of safety measures that I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even thanks for that's what a great, that, keep that there. That's great. That's actually very protective. I don't know when I wrote that story or when that happened, but hell yeah, that does feel aligned with who I am and the way I want to live. That automatic kind of programming can continue. Yay. I love that when I meet someone, I'm genuinely interested in them and what they're doing and how they're feeling. I love that I can sit down with a person who's hurting and know that pretty immediately and not hesitate to help. That's not a conscious thing. Like that is a result of subconscious work. And I'm so glad that that's part of who I am and the code that's been written. I'm so grateful to be a helper. And I'm so grateful to be in good company with you. Because if you didn't have all that good stuff in you, I mean, you wouldn't be here. Not like listening to my podcast is like, the ultimate accomplishment of like, you did it. You were, like good person, part of the crew. No, I just know like I know. And if you don't know yet, then that's something to work on in like a really joyful way. How lucky are we that we get to work on this? How lucky is the whole freaking world that there are people working on this? We need you. The world is better because you're in it. This podcast extended community is better because you're in it. It'd be incomplete if you weren't. I'm so glad that you're here. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing this episode with someone who you think might enjoy it. I'm really feeling very grateful, if that wasn't already apparent. So, before we say goodbye, let's just oxygenate. Why not, right? Where can you unclench? Where can you let go of a little bit of tension? Where can you invite in a little bit of that sukha that we talked about last episode? Maybe it's your shoulders. Maybe it's even in your throat. Maybe your tongue can drop from the roof of your mouth. That was hard to say. When you're ready, take a deep breath in and a big sigh out. Yeah, bigger breath in. Longer breath out. How long can you extend that exhale? Maybe even pause at the bottom, empty for just a moment before pulling in all that air again. Breathe it in. We're holding it at the top. So sip in every little bit of air. Gulp in that air. Feel your rib cage expand. Hold full. Be full. You're so full of all the best stuff. Open your mouth. Let it go. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Starfish Diaries. I want to take a quick moment to thank some of the people who have made this possible. The artwork that I am so in love with is by my friend and the most talented artist, Mo Houston, and you can find her and her work and work with her by going to Joy Scout Studios. I will have that linked in the show notes. And thank you to my incredible editor, Sean Gritters. If you are looking for production support with your podcast, highly recommend that you check him out. His information will also be in the description.